guys, this is Screeching Squid 3G with part 2 of the cassette. And today, as always, I have a friend with me tagging along. And can you go ahead and introduce your name? What's your name so I can introduce yourself? JJ's here to do a story with us. She will be listening and enjoying the video along with me and you guys, the viewers. So enjoy Screeching Squid as we listen to Cassette 2, Autumn of 1993. This is part 2 after the first cassette we watched. So if you haven't watched the first part or the cassette 1, you should go watch that part 1, now with a friend. And then now enjoy this part 2 with a friend right now. So here we are, where we left off.
Hello, Sigrid. I am in a town called Sandpoint in western North America. The rivers lie nestled in majestic stony mountains and sharp evergreens like arrows pointing to heaven. It all reminds me of Hedmark. I feel almost as if I could take a stroll through the trees and find myself at home with you.
Walking through the trees.
I flew from Paris to New York and met a woman there named Melissa, who told me of other groups like our Cradle scattered all across the continent. Melissa said the Cradle had decades ago inspired dozens of people across North America to establish their own organizations to live outside the society's rules. I don't think I ever really explained to you just why we have to live as we do. It's too complicated a message, too complex a history to explain to a child. But you are not a child, are you?
I'm not a child.
My mother, your grandmother. Do you remember Grandma Bridget? You were only 4 when she died. Maybe you've forgotten. She could not have children, or so the doctor told her. But she campaigned against the movement to stop the society from ending families.
Not grandma. Not
The
grandma.
wars of the Great Reckoning were decorated with flags, orchestrated with anthems, and funded by politicians. Brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers did not destroy our populations. It was not out of love of children that rivers were polluted and skies were blackened. After the reckoning was over, of course, there were arguments about why it had happened. Civilized debates in conference rooms. Protests that flooded the streets and sometimes led to riots, fighting across dinner tables. Bridget was single at the time, but she rallied with wives and husbands of former friends to protest some of the proposed laws. But as she protested, life went on. She had a job, she had an apartment, she had a life. She met someone, your grandfather, Louis. And laws were drawn up and tabled and voted on. And then Bridget discovered she was pregnant. Louis called the baby a miracle. Bridget called the baby Freya. I was born in 1949.
Wow.
My mother decided that if she could not change the laws, she would avoid them. She persuaded a few of her fellow activists to come with her, and they moved north to the woods outside Sundsvall. They began the Cradle. But they did not go quietly.
No.
They proclaimed their opposition to the society, branding it inhuman and offering protection to anyone who wanted to live outside of it.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Suddenly journalists cared about their movement. Politicians cared about their movement.
Yes.
Frightened Europeans cared about their movement.
Yes.
Many joined, and their organization and footprint
Right,
grew.
Jay?
But
Yes.
Bridget and your grandmother would admit this herself if she were alive today.
Aye, Captain.
Allowed her transparency, her hubris, her open desire for change to get the better of her true goals.
Yeah.
Eventually, there was a raid. The IID claimed the cradle was stockpiling illegal weapons.
All right. And we took a little moment, a little break. Let's continue.
Success. I have tried along the way to help them as best as I can, but I had never known until now the craving for such advice, so I had never organized my own thoughts on the matter. But Sigrid, I suddenly feel like I have a purpose, a calling. I thought the cradle was about me and you, about our community and what we could teach the world. I had no idea that parts of the world were already following us.
Yeah.
I believe we can expand our cradle across the world, Sigrid. Join it to these fledgling, faltering outposts and expand even further. That is my mission now. In my many months of travel, I have created a nearly 200-page document of guidelines, suggestions, and rules for how to build and run outposts of the cradle. I think I would also need to help set up each outpost, as each region will have its own specific customs to contend with. Thank you for being patient with me, and I hope to have an address for longer than a week, that I may have you send me letters or tapes of your own. I miss your face. I miss your voice. I just miss your words, Sigrid. I love you very much. As usual, I've included my notes for the group on the other side. Please play it for everyone at the next gathering.
Do you love Within the Wires? I hope you do. I hope you do very much. Well, there's a lot more of this show available to you right now if you join our Patreon. We're an independently produced drama, and costs of equipment, recording time, production, artists, travel, they all require listener support. I don't gotta tell you, right? You listen to podcasts, you know the drill. But here's the thing. The Within the Wires Patreon not only has bi-monthly video chats with me, Jeffrey Craner, and my co-writer, Janina Matthewson, but also director's notes of each new episode and behind-the-scenes features in our off-season. Plus, and this is the coolest thing, a Patreon-only Within the Wires series called Black Box, with 4 new episodes each year, released on solstices and equinoxes. Equinoxes? And you can get every single episode ad-free, or, if you like the ads, we put those out separately for you as well. And we're adding exclusive ads every 2 months for products that may or may not even exist. Support starts as low as $1 a month, so if you like what we do on this show, please consider helping out financially and get some of that sweet, sweet bonus content. Ooh, content. Bonus contemporary artistic collaborative audio.
Content.
I don't know, bonus episodes, whatever. We think you'll love it. If nothing else, know that we love you.
That's sweet, sweet content.
And now back to the episode.
Yeah, sweet content.
My friends, my family, our cradle. I speak to you today from the Selkirk Mountains of North America, where I have met an incredible human named Rosie Morales.
Rosie?
She's the mother of twin girls, Elizabeth and Sylvia, 12 years old. Rosie worked for the Sandpoint Tourism Board as a copywriter for 5 years, putting together brochures for hikers, skiers, and campers who wanted to visit the rich nature of her hometown by a crystalline lake nestled in the pine-covered mountains. But Rosie got pregnant in 1981. Her husband, David, thought this pregnancy to be unplanned and organized paperwork for Rosie to sell her children to the new society's repopulation efforts. David submitted the paperwork to the DOR without Rosie's knowing, following the law, of course,
Yes.
not his wife's choices. Rosie was furious. She spent weeks trying to undo the paperwork, telling clerks that it was a mistaken pregnancy, a false alarm, and that they filed the paperwork too early. Eventually, the DOR told her that her file had been cleared, but her file had not been cleared. A few weeks later, Rosie began to see men in suits with unpleasant dogs following her. She had to quit her job because without approval from the DOR or the Department of Childhood Development that clearly showed a destination for the children, her employers could not cover her maternity leave.
Oh, dang.
The moment Rosie knew she was pregnant, she had decided to raise her children herself, free from the oppressive government grip. She knew the mountains well. She knew she could hide them from bureaucrats, and she knew she could keep these children. Rosie and David left the town of Sandpoint for a natural preserve 10 miles from any significant population, and she gave birth to Elizabeth and Sylvia. They spent the next 4 years raising them in peace. They caught trout and bass in the river. They hunted birds and grew tomatoes in the summer and gourds in the winter. Rosie began to teach her children to read and write, to clean chickens,
Food.
and most importantly, to
Food.
live as a family.
Ah, yummy food.
But the men in suits and their unpleasant dogs returned.
The men in black?
Soon,
The
there
men
were
in black.
dozens of them, and Rosie and David were forced to move away. Over the next 4 years, they had to move 6 times, but each new home only offered temporary reprieve.
The men
The
in
men
black.
always came back. She knew how they had found her, but she did not want to believe it. Betrayal is the most difficult sin to detect. It is even harder to accept. Rosie confronted David, and he of course denied everything. But Rosie knew this
Denial.
land. She
Denial.
was careful not to make too much noise, not to bring her children
Yes.
into open areas,
Yes.
not to
JJ.
leave
Yes.
waste behind. The
I
children
feel
would not be
denial
reporting their location to the DOCD,
and I
but
feel
David
a conspiracy going on.
David wanted a different life. He wanted his old life. She told David to leave their home, and David agreed. He agreed quickly and easily, not to fight of a man who loves his family, who wants them to be safe. Rosie knew she would not be safe from David's greed, that David would report her location to the society upon his return to Sandpoint. She would be continually tracked. But she knew the mountains better than he did.
Yes. She knew the mountains better than he did. So, she knew the way to get out of that situation and get away from David and handle the situation better than he does. So, she'd probably get to safety. She'd probably get away. She'd probably be safe. Will she? We probably won't know until the next part when it comes. Ah, cliffhanger. Da-da-da. Wow, very interesting. I could see there was a movement in this part, a real big movement. It was feminist related, it was dealing with female power, it was dealing with movement with just in general, really big movement that they pushed forward in history. And a lot of stuff's happening. A lot of stuff. The story's getting deeping into it. The cassettes are getting deeper. The story's getting more interesting, and we're starting to be able to piece things together. And it's so sad to end it on this part because especially with our guest here, JJ, she looks like she's very dived into the story as well, and she's very much enjoying it. A lot is happening, chaos, crazy stuff is happening. But this girl that we're following around as she's recording these cassettes looks like she knows what she's doing. She's planned everything out. She's been using her instincts to work through these situations. And I'm very proud of her, and I'm very proud of how long this story has been going on. It's been very, very intriguing. And that's all the time we have for this part. And I like to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell notifications and squid slap with me. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. See you guys later.